Before we start the premiere episode of Self-Interrupted with Kit Costello, I would like to thank Eugenia Milian, the author of Wild Childs, for sponsoring this season. Eugenia has been kind enough to sponsor multiple seasons of Self-Interrupted, and season 6 being no different. It truly means so much to me that I have Eugenia's support. Eugenia has worked as a model, as a producer, as an agent, and now a writer. Eugenia has written the book Wild Childs, which is a fiction book based on the truth of the modeling industry. If you don't know, I was a model. Sometimes I still do model. And as a model, I have had many a situation like you find in the book Wild Childs. Wild Childs is a book that follows an ex-model, Iris, having to re-enter the dark and shady industry of the modeling world due to some unforeseen circumstances to protect her daughter, Lou. This book is a true page turner, and it's one of those books that you know is going to be turned into a film or TV show in the future. So you want to read it before so that you can say that you were one of the first to. I do want to preface that Wild Childs is a book that contains adult themes and subjects that may be sensitive to some readers, so please do your research before purchasing the book. But thank you once again to Eugenia Milian for sponsoring this season of Self-Interrupted, and I hope you enjoy the premiere episode of the season. Guys, I feel like I'm talking to a friend that I haven't seen in ages. Like, it's a little bit awkward. I don't know. I'm sitting here with my tea, and I'm just like, wait, how do I start this? It's been 6 months since I recorded an episode of my podcast. It feels as though I'm sitting down with a friend. I haven't seen them since secondary school. I'm like, wait, have we changed, or are we going to slip straight back into the old habits? Naturally, of course, me and you, we're going to slip back into old habits. Now, a friend of mine from secondary school, baby, we were never friends to begin with. So there are no habits to slip into, let's be clear. But me and you, we have a relationship. And I'm excited to slip back into those old habits, which is me just kind of like dumping emotional baggage, dissecting it in front of you and being like, look how I helped you. Don't you love that? You know, making my problems your problems and then being like, I'm a saint. Welcome back to Self-Interrupted with Kit Costello. It's been 6 months since I did an episode of this podcast. To some people, they really thought I was quitting. I was getting comments and messages on a daily basis on my podcast account. People were saying, don't end the podcast this way. You're on such a high. I was like, baby, it was never going to end. I was always going to come back, guys. To be frank with you and to be fair to you, I believe in the last episode of the last season, I did say like, oh, a couple of months, I'll be gone. 6 months later, Jesus Christ. I didn't know I was going to take this long of a break, but if anything, I'm on theme. This technically is the 6th season of Self-Interrupted, and I wanted to take 6 months. Like, I'm always going to keep it on theme for me. I love branding, and I've got to keep it on brand. But we're back after 6 months. Thank you so much for being so patient with me. Honestly and truly, I really respect it and I really rate it. And I do want to look you in the eye and say that, because this world is so fast paced. Social media is so fast paced, but it just shows the loyalty of all of you that listen to this podcast, that you have cared enough to message me and that you've cared enough to come back. And to be honest, I'm a little bit like, I'm overthinking this episode quite a lot because I want it to be good for you, but I know that it's the first episode of many this season. So I can take a bit of stress off knowing that, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just going to be a really big catch up, because at the beginning of each season, I love to just catch you up on what's been going on. And previously for season premieres, I've only had like a month or two to catch you up on. I've had 6 months of living that I have to catch you up on. I'm not going to be able to go through all of it, which is quite nice, because throughout this season, I'm going to just be dropping insane pieces of lore that I can explain in those episodes. But for now, there are some certain pieces of lore that I need to get through to you before the season properly begins. But before we get into the lore dump of the season, I do have some updates, housekeeping rules for this season. So let's get into that now. Okay, can I be honest? Let's just all take a sigh of relief that the intro's done, because I've been trying to do that for the past 20 minutes. So, hands out. It's tradition. Put your hand out. In my hand. Breathe in. Breathe out. I like to believe that none of you breathed since the last time I did that on season 5. Okay, first housekeeping statement is that the podcast has grown exponentially. Can't quite believe it. I'm a witch. Yes, burn me at the stake, etc. I really have always had the thought and the belief that the podcast would have a really big surgence of growth when I'm not doing a season. I think I sum it up to like Sod's Law, because I just find it really funny that as soon as I turn that microphone off, everyone's like, wait, we love Self Interrupted with Kit Costello. And I have to sit back, and as a workaholic, I can't capitalize off of that. That's kind of why I took the 6 months off. I had to really prove to myself that I didn't have to just jump on the hype. I had to sit back and be like, no, it's always going to be there. What what I put out into the world, I attract. So I was just kind of allowing the hype to grow, and my God, it really did grow. I'm very, very honored. If you're not privy to it, over on Instagram, the podcast has really, really grown. It's outgrown me personally on Instagram, which I love. I really it's really inspiring, to be honest. That something that I'm so proud of, and yeah, I put so much work into. I feel as though it really is, it's paying off. And the reasoning for that is because of the reels over on Instagram. They did a number. Like, it was really funny. I left the season 5, and then I was like, well, I guess I could like post a couple of reels in between season 5 and season 6. I posted one reel about being ghosted. The next day, it literally had like 500,000 views, and all my reels before that had like maybe 900 views. That was it, and I couldn't believe it. And it was really quite, it was satisfying, to be honest, because I know that we have something special with this podcast, and I was really proud that all the content that I'd already put out was getting the recognition that I believed it deserved, to be honest. And especially that clip, it was me talking about being ghosted and understanding my worth. And it just resonated with a lot of people. And to be totally frank, it was really inspiring that that clip in particular did well, because I'd posted clips before that, and it was like me, trying to be funny and cracking jokes and stuff on the podcast, and none of them really took off. But I think what this podcast is to its core is the reel that became successful, which was me being brutally honest about being ghosted and how that made me feel. And I was just really proud of that, because that's exactly idyllic. It's exactly what I would have wanted it to be. So yeah, I continued posting reels, and they all did really well, and then we've gained an audience, and the podcast just at the end of last year had a 999% growth rate, which is astounding and shocking, and therefore I think a couple people were a little bit confused, and they were like, where have you gone? Are you coming back? I would like to listen to this podcast, please. But don't fret, I am back, and I'm very excited to be back. And it's been so sweet to be receiving so many messages from old listeners and new listeners saying how much the podcast means to you, and receiving messages specifically, from those reels that I was posting. There was a lot of like heartbreak and yearning and ghosting reels, and for people to be so vulnerable and share their stories with me was just so beautiful. And I was receiving so many messages at one point, and still to this day, like on a daily basis, about like how the podcast has helped people get through pretty difficult moments in their life. And I just want to hold space for that, and really thank you all. The next point that I want to get onto is why I've been gone for so long, which I guess kind of goes into the last point as well, and I touched on it briefly, is that like I kind of just wanted to allow the podcast to grow with the content that was already out there. And equally, because I had such a big audience growth, I really wanted the audience, you guys that have come, to listen to the old catalogue and to kind of catch up, because yes, season 5 was its own thing and very pivotal to this podcast, but there's also season 4, and there's season 3, and there's season 2, and there's season 1. Now there's a couple of those seasons that maybe you can miss, no shade, but you know, season 3, 4, and 5, I would say, are the essentials. I think season 5, it's the most recent, so maybe it's recency bias, but that season I think is so special. Like, I am so proud of that season, and I think I always will be, no matter how many podcast seasons I do, because I think it's like, I think it's just a vision. Like, can I be honest with you all? I went into that season believing it was probably going to be the last season of this podcast. And if you look at the podcast cover art for season 5, it's the black and white one. I really believe that you can tell. I have all of the Polaroids from past seasons in the background. On the desk behind me, it has memorabilia from past seasons. I'm looking kind of melancholy. And I really believed that it was the last season. And then season 5, I just started living my life. The first episode of season 5, I went on my first date. And then on the last episode of season 5, I like experienced my first heartbreak. And I believed that I loved that season so much because it really was bookended by this complete and utter juxtaposition of life where I'd never experienced, you know, loving someone. And then the last episode was me experiencing falling in love, you know, and I just think it's really beautiful. And I look back on that as like a really big like coming of age. And I think that's why the clips from that season do so well, is because it really is me being so vulnerable and honest. Speaking of honesty, let's move on to the cover meaning and the aesthetic of this season. The cover of the podcast is me holding a star made up of my journals, and it's me with like long black hair, and I guess we don't have to talk about the plot. I'm like, yes, so I have long black hair. Did you notice the extensions? And I also have a black top that I'm wearing, and I have a little star on. Like, no, the journal star that I'm holding, there are real journal entries on that star, and also on the cover with all the text that's on the front of the cover, they are my real journal entries, and you can read them. That's real. Like, that's me. The concept of it was me holding on to memories that I can't let go of. Though these memories hurt me and technically they're in the past, I hold on to them so much, but me holding on to them kind of makes me who I am, which is a star. I love to have meaning in my covers, and the last season, season 5, it was so eclectic and there was so much going on in the cover. Though it was black and white, it was like pretty cluttered. I wanted this season to be a bit more like plain background, holding something that's kind of like iconic in a way. I wanted it to be like a symbol that you think of me, which is a star, but then also you think of me, which is like journals. So putting the two together, I really wanted to like hone in on that branding. I'm a marketing diva at the end of the day. Truly, I love marketing. And I really do all of this podcast by myself. And I'm really proud of that. And, you know, this shoot, I didn't do by myself. I was able to work with my best friends, Hanifa Mohammed, who shot the cover, and Emma Bradley, who was assisting. And Emma also did the score for this season, the soundtrack, which I think is so gorgeous. And if you listen really closely, you can actually hear journal entries being written at the beginning. So it all ties in really, really well. But yeah, the cover meaning, it really is just like holding on to memories that maybe you should have let go of, but I can't. And I speak about them. And I think this season's going to be probably quite vulnerable because it's, you know, I've been away for 6 months, and in those 6 months I've written so much in my journal, and I think this season is going to be more of a retrospective on what I've learned in those 6 months. Season 5 was really reactionary, and it was, you know, what I was going through at the time. I'd kind of come on the podcast and talk about it, but I believe that this season is going to be more looking back on the 6 months. What have I learned? What did I learn while being in relationships in season 5? You know, I can talk about those more freely now that I'm not dating those people, and I'm not scared that they're going to be listening to the podcast, because frankly, if they're listening to the podcast now, you know, you're a kitten eater and I respect it, but like, I feel as though I have the right to. I always did, but I think there's like a certain level of respect that I have for people that I've dated. And I think I don't know, I feel like when I date people, like, I don't talk about them on the podcast in a negative light, even though that maybe I did say that someone that I dated who ghosted me should go to hell with his cat. So there's like, you know, swings and roundabouts, but I think I talk more about the emotions that the situation at hand gave me rather than the situation as a play-by-play, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the meaning of the cover and really the plan for the season. I have so many episode ideas. In comparison to season 5, I I really didn't have that many episode ideas. It was kind of me just going in blind and hoping for the best. Some will be about dating, and some will be about friendship, and some will be about the relationship you have with your own body and with your mind. And I'm really, really excited, and I'm really honored that you're here. Like, I do want to hone in on that once again, that it's not, you know, I don't take it for granted that you listen to this podcast and that you spend time in your day listening, because on my 6-month break I actually started listening to podcasts properly for the first time. I'd listen to podcasts here and there, but I always prefer to listen to music. But I started listening to podcasts and I was like, damn, I kind of get it. Like, I just walked around and listened to podcasts and it was really soothing and calming, but I was really picky about who I listened to. So it made me really appreciate you guys even more so, because I was like, damn, you guys picked me. Like, that's kind of crazy. So I really appreciate it. Speaking about things I really appreciate you and what you guys are going through. So this season there's going to be a new segment on the podcast entitled Interrupt Me, where at the end of each episode I'm going to be doing an agony aunt section where I really give you guys advice on something that one of you is going through at that time. And I have a close friends on Instagram now, and there's so many of you on it. It's so special. I just call out on there and I'm like, if you guys have anything that you need advice on, you can submit in this link, and it's all anonymous. And I have a few for the next few episodes, but I'll be doing a call out over there. So if you want to be added to the close friends, just give me a message over on Instagram and I'll add you. I normally do like a like this story if you want to be added to the close friends, and then I add you all. But that's the updates for the season and the housekeeping rules. I believe it's probably time that we get into the catch up of the last 6 months, because we have things to discuss, we have things to talk about. I've loved, I've lost, and I think I need to talk about it. So let's get into the catch up of the past 6 months. Okay, so I went through my old phone and I went through the camera roll, and I just took down points as to things that happened literally the day I ended the podcast up until now. So we're going to go through some of the points. Some I'm going to elaborate on and some I won't. I have some stories attached to some of them and some I don't. But then I have a whole other section full of different stories and things that have gone on. Oh my God, this is going to be so much fun. Why was I stressing about this episode? Like, this is just a catch up with me and you, and that's just what we do. You know, this is honestly the catch up of the week in a regular episode is my favorite time a lot of the time. I'll be honest. Can I be real for a second? The catch up of the week is my favorite because it feels like I'm doing stand-up comedy. When I get into the topic of the week, specifically in season 5, it was me being like, I'm heartbroken, I'm yawning. So much of the time during the main topic, I would just black out. And I realized that post season 5, I remember I used to go into edit and I wouldn't even know what I was saying. I would just be like, oh, that was a really good point. Sometimes I'd be so down bad. I remember there was one time where it was the guy that had ghosted me, and I was like, I literally got on the microphone. It was like I was doing a diss track. I got on the microphone and I just started spitting, and then I started editing it and I was like, wait, you're helping me out. Do you know what I mean? And it was what I needed. I was like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. And I was like, bitch, you're speaking. Okay, the first point, season 5 ended during heartbreak. Yes, heartbroken season 5. If I had to continue that season being so sad and being heartbroken, I don't know what I would have done. It would have been bad for everyone involved, because I don't know which way I would have gone. Like I was saying about season 5, I think it was just so serendipitous, that whole season. And I think it just kind of made it. The next point is I signed to new management. I actually left my modeling agency. If you don't know, I actually used to model, and I left my old podcast agency as well. I left them back to back in back-to-back emails. It was so fab. I felt I was just behind me. Oh my God, I didn't mention the new set. Guys, why didn't you remind me? I'm in a new set. If you're watching the video episode, I'm currently this is my office/studio. Yeah, I'm really proud of this set. It's so comfy. My God, I just am sitting on my sofa. My office is my favorite place to be. I'm here all the time. If you're not watching the video episode, I'm covered in lace and satin and stars, and I have journal stars floating above me. It sounds like I'm lying. I'm not. I actually do. And I'm really proud of it. I think it just looks really pretty. Like I was saying, I was in this exact office when I sent back-to-back emails, basically leaving my modeling agency and my old podcast agency. And frankly, the reason as to why I left both of them was just because it just wasn't working. I think when you get into self-employment and being a creative, you just have to understand that some people just like, you just, not that you don't click, but you just don't have the same work ethic. I don't know. I'm so go, go, go. And I'm so like, oh, I can do this and I can do that and we can do this together. But I think some people kind of don't necessarily have the same vision as you, or they kind of try and convince you that those opportunities aren't there for you, even though I pretty much know that they are. So I left both of those managements, and I'm really happy that I did. Peace and love to both of them, truly. I think, I'm really honored to have worked with a lot of the people in those situations. But sometimes you just have to take a bit of a risk, and that's what I did. So I left them, and then I signed to my new management, and got hearts up for my new management. Truly love everyone at my new management. They really just like take all my ideas and run with them, and I just be emailing them. I'm like, hey, what if we did this? What if we did that? To any creatives out there, you need to understand that like having the best management that you can possibly have is so important. Don't be afraid to leave management and listen to your gut. It was a really big thing for me to stop modeling, and truthfully I stopped modeling because I was so proud of this podcast, and I was like, I can do this. Like, I know I can. And it was a big step for me. And it paid off because the reels started going crazy. Ironically, as soon as I left my podcast agency, I literally have here podcast Instagram reels go crazy. And it was such a big, like, it was so important for me because, again, as a creative, I think it's really inspiring to know that the work that you've already done is being appreciated. And I really, really appreciate that. Around this time as well, I was healing the soul with some good food. Some miso soup and roast dinners were had, and they were needed. I think that was the first, like, I say heartbreak in like a pretty light way. It wasn't terrible, but I think it was the first time that I'd like been falling in love. And yeah, I was really, really sad. So for like from like October, for the rest of that year, I was just like I was pretty much like in the trenches. And a lot of the time I was going to this one cafe, which is really special to me. I think sometimes you have those kind of places where you're going through a lot and you don't necessarily want to speak to people. I think at that time I didn't really want to talk to that many people about what I was going through and what I was feeling. And I think sometimes when you go through like a breakup like that, it seems, I don't know, sometimes I kind of convince myself that I'm being a bit silly and I'm being a bit over emotional. And I know my friends would never make me feel that way, but I think sometimes you kind of place that insecurity onto yourself, and I almost get embarrassed to like talk about certain things with my friends because I just don't want to feel as though I'm harping on about certain things. And I just find myself in this one cafe in London, in like my favorite area of London, and I was there like every other day really for like a couple of weeks, and I'd get a miso soup and I have my journal, and I base a lot of my podcast around my journal because it really, really helped me during this time. I know a lot of people are journaling at the moment, and I love it. I think it's such a beautiful way of like expressing your emotion. And I would just sit in this journal for hours, and I just like sit and listen to music, and I journal for pages and pages and pages, and just try and understand like what happened. And to be honest, it really helped. It like exiles a lot of your emotion. And to anyone going through anything, I know it sounds really, it can sometimes sound performative, and it can sometimes sound a bit redundant because everyone says that it helps, but it really does. It really helped me out. And as someone that feels a lot, I really found that journaling allowed me to sympathize with myself in a lot of ways. It was kind of like unraveling why I felt the way I did, and it allowed me to feel heartbroken and not to just suppress it just for the sake of performance and performing like I was okay. Up next, some sad news. My cat Phoebe, who some of you may know, passed away. An absolute legend in the KCCU. She's up on the Hall of Fame, like truly. But I do have a funny story associated with this. So there I was sleeping. I was hitting my REM cycle, I'll have you know. It was around like 11:30 at night, and I just heard my door opening. And my door is really, really squeaky. I live in like a farmhouse. And sometimes my dog, Humphrey, will kind of like nuzzle his way in. So I kind of like heard Humphrey's collar and the door creaking. And I look to my side and it's Humphrey, and he's kind of like, he's licking his lips and he's wagging his tail. And I look in my door frame and it's my dad. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he just goes, Phoebe's died. And I was like, what happened to hello? Like, Jesus Christ. my cat of my life just died. And the first thing you say to me after I've just come out my REM cycle to my dog wagging his tail and licking his lips at me is Phoebe's died. I get up. I'm in my pajamas. I like get up. I feel as though I'm dreaming. I walk past my dad. I remember I said thank you for some reason. I walk down the stairs and my mum's there, bless her heart, and she's holding our cat. But yeah, bless her. I think she went in the best way that she possibly could have. She had a couple of medical issues. She had heart failure. And honestly, that, can we just give it up for Phoebe? Pour one out for my queen. Pour one out for my queen. Because she was given a life expectancy when she was given that diagnosis of heart failure. She was given a life expectancy of 3 to 6 months. She lasted 2.5 years after that diagnosis. So she's an inspiration to everyone. Speaking of things I loved, the Self-Interrupted Christmas special. Yes, we've reached the Christmas section of this catch up. Around Christmas, I was like, I miss the podcast so much and I need to let everyone know that I still love it. So I need to do a Christmas special. And that's what I did. Came back, and I'd never done a Christmas special before and I was really excited to do it. And I don't do things by halves. So I literally like baked cookies for the cover art. I got my mum to take Polaroids of me. And I believe it was Christmas Eve that I was sitting in our living room and I just recorded the Christmas special. And I absolutely loved it because I believe I uploaded that on Christmas Eve and then I went on my social media break. The next points are porridge and social media break. And honestly, that sums up my social media break. You're about to be sick of me because the way that I'm obsessed with porridge, I actually am currently leaving my porridge obsession stage. But baby, from Christmas till literally this week, obsessed with porridge. I had it every single day. Porridge recipe, guys. Banana mashed down in the porridge oats, and I have equal parts oats, equal parts water, which to some may be controversial because you might be wondering where's the milk. I just think it's a little bit too rich for me. I like to have the banana, and then sometimes I like to have a bit of peanut butter in there if I'm feeling crazy. I've recently started loving to put like cocoa powder in the porridge, and I've started having like a small bowl of porridge but really rich dark chocolate porridge. Like with sea salt on top. Guys, truly get into it. So I had my social media break famously, because if you don't know, around that time, like the Christmas period, I take 2 weeks off of social media and everyone cares about it. Of course they do. Oh my God, there are parades down the street. Kid Costello's off of social media. Like I make it everyone's problem. It then was New Year. And Happy New Year, guys, 2026. How did I spend my New Year? I was classically in my bedroom. God, I don't even remember what I was doing. I think I was just like in my room. I don't do anything on New Year's. I think a couple people invited me out. I said no. Like, respectfully, I want to spend my New Year's in my bedroom and I want to wake up in my bedroom. I don't want to wake up in anyone else's room, my friend or otherwise. I just want to be by myself. And that's what I did. New Year's Day, I woke up, I came into this exact room where I'm recording this episode. I did my New Year's intentions, my reflections of the past year. And there were a lot of reflections. Last year was so intense for me. Like, I talk about it with my friends, specifically in the terms of dating. Like, Jesus Christ. I went on my first date last year, and I had my first heartbreak last year. And in between them, there were like 4 other people that were just treating me like shit. Like, it was just like, it was literally one battle after another. But yes, I went to the pub a lot at the beginning of this year. I was drinking, I guess, quite a lot, which sounds kind of bad, but I was just seeing my friend. Speaking of dating, post-breakup bangs came to fruition for me at the end of January, which, you know, it's a stage in everyone's life. In every girl's life, there will be some post-breakup bangs, and mine came in thick and fast. Pardon the pun, they were thick bangs. I know if you're watching the video episode now, you're looking at me and you're thinking, Kit, you don't have bangs. I do. I have a sexy, sweet little clip in my hair that is currently holding my bang back. They're growing out, but I do want to go to baby bangs again. Like, I want to commit. With bangs, for me, it was just a case of like, I want to change something about myself. Like, I need to change my appearance physically to like prove that I've moved on in a way, in a sense. Because nothing proves that you're moving on like saying, I promise you I'm moving on, you know. Speaking of, oh, this might be a bit sensitive. Speaking of slightly moving on, I suppose, we got a new cat. Hey, yes. Shout out to Theodore, my queen, my king, I suppose. Sorry, misgendered you. Hashtag he, him. Thank you. That's Theodore. That's Dory. Dory, my cat. And I actually have an inspirational story about this. Phoebe passed away, bless her heart. A couple months later, my mum said it feels really weird to have a house without a cat because all of our lives, we've always had a cat. My mum is very particular about adopting cats from shelters, and she really wanted a kitten. We got Phoebe as a kitten from the RSPCA, which is a adoption shelter here in the UK. Months went by, and every single day my mum was checking the adoption agencies and the shelters, and she was like, there's just nothing here. No cats are coming up. And there were a couple of times where these cats were coming up and they weren't necessarily perfect, but my mum was like, you know what, sure. Like, it got to the point where we were about to adopt one, but then it turned out that they had like diarrhea, and it was like, they're kind of on their last legs. Like, are you sure you want to adopt them? And then my mum was like, well, maybe not. Damn, it sounds like a bit of an issue. And they were like, well, you could. And my mum was like, well, what if nothing else comes along? But my mum stuck it out and she said, no, actually, I'm going to wait. Something will come along. When I tell you guys, Theodore is the most beautiful cat you have ever set your eyes on. He is a fluffy, champagne-coloured cat, brightest blue eyes, most gorgeous, gorgeous face. And they're only the pictures that we saw of him. So instantly, as soon as we saw these photos, my mum said, we're adopting him, of course. We get this cat, first day that he's with us, as soon as he touches the floor in our house, he starts purring. And he never has stopped. He is obsessed with us on a level that none of our other cats have ever been obsessed with us. And I think that that story is really true to a lot of situations in life. So many situations in life, you try and force something to happen. You are constantly obsessing over it. I need this cat. I need this cat. A new cat's coming. I'm going to take this cat even though it's not right for me. Actually, I'm going to hang on. You hang on and something perfect comes your way eventually. It might take a second, but that perfect thing will come. And honestly, it's been really inspirational to me because, my God, I look at Theodore now as that, as a constant reminder that that perfect thing is coming your way. And my God, this cat, you guys, you'd be obsessed with him. My God, he has such a personality. He'll see you coming along and he'll hide behind a sofa and he'll jump up on you. He'll get on his two back legs and jump up at you and pretend to like attack you, but he won't attack you. He'll sleep in your arms. He falls to the ground in front of your feet and starts purring. You call his name and he'll just like sing to you and run to you. He's so beautiful. But I call him Dory. Yes. I started calling him Dorian because his full name's Theodore, so I called him Dorian. And now I call him Dory. I sometimes call him Dor, and I feel like I'm pushing my luck there a little bit. He was originally named Fred. Right. Ooh, can we not talk about that? Can we not talk about that? Him and his litter were named after the Scooby-Doo gang. Fred, Velma, Daphne, and Shaggy. And my mum said, yes, let's keep Fred. Pissed me off. I was so mad. You guys don't even understand. I was in a rush because my mum was like, I'm adopting him. While I was about to catch a train, she was like, I'm going to call him Fred. I said, no, baby, you don't understand. I have a train to catch, but the last thing I say to you is that you're not calling this cat Fred. You want to know the reason why? I was dating someone called Fred. I wasn't even dating him, guys. Literally, I was just speaking to him and he was pissing me off. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be naming this cat Fred. And every time I'm like, I was talking to a guy called Fred and it pissed me off. Ultimately, if we called him Fred, he would have overwritten the person that I talked to, of course. But also, I was like, this cat is so gorgeous. And you're calling him Fred? Now I'm mad, you know? Frederick. I was like, and it's never any shade to someone called Fred. If you're listening to this and your name is Fred, gorgeous. But for a cat, I just thought that it could be, he didn't look like a Fred. He didn't. And I suggested Theodore because he reminded me of Theodore from Alvin and the Chipmunks. And now my mum says that she came up with the name Theodore. And I don't know, I'm a bit territorial over like names and stuff. Because in the past, this has happened before where I named my fish Phineas after Phineas and Ferb. And then my mum said, oh, I named your fish Phineas. And I said, oh, why would you name my fish Phineas? Like, no, because I am pissed off. In what world does that make sense? In what world? Like, I was just so mad. I was so jarred. Like, and Humphrey. God, the way I'm coming up with the names for these pets. And no credit is given to me. Just mad. Just mad. Okay. Things that don't make me mad, though. Guys. Can we all just give it up for sweet potatoes? Give it up for... You know when I eat a sweet potato, I feel like Dua Lipa. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like Dua Lipa vacationing in Italy. It's so Dua Lipa core. Like me eating a sweet potato. In this moment, I'm like, oh, Self-Interrupted is back. Me obsessing over a random food and acting like you guys never heard of it before this episode. That's what Self-Interrupted really is. On Instagram, it's me being like, I got ghosted again, and this is how I'm dealing with it. The real ones know that this is the real Self-Interrupted. Me being like, yes. Sweet potatoes remind me of being Dua Lipa. Like, sure. Also, at the beginning of this year, I was dating. I'm not dating anymore. I'm very much single. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm going to be doing a full episode on my dating life, my boring dating life, because it is boring, because I'm not dating and I don't want to be. But at the beginning of this year, I dated someone and I went on a date with someone else. Both ended up ghosting me. Girl, it's just, it's not even fun. I'm not even saying this satirically. I really felt at the beginning of this year with the dates that I went on and how I was treated, I felt so disrespected and just lost hope in dating. And it's not even in a way of like, oh, woe is me. It's like, oh, I don't actually have time for this anymore. Like, this is ridiculous now. It was like a wake up. Why am I wasting my time on these people that truly don't respect me and also clearly don't have the respect for themselves to show up to a date looking decent? Oh, sorry, now I'm getting mean. But it was just pissing me off. And I think I'm really sick of being young, hot, intelligent, capable, creative, gorgeous, having gorgeous friends, and centering men and centering dates and caring about, you know, a text back, or it's just so boring and it's so I'm above that now. And it's not to say that if you're doing that you're below me. It's that version of me. This is personal, you know. I think we all know that version of ourselves that maybe you don't want to be, and it's the version of yourself that maybe when you're pining over someone that you're trying to, you know, you're dating or whatever. I don't like that version of myself, you know. And I think I was holding these people to such a high standard, and I look back and I'm just like, they weren't that high, you know. You were the person in the situation that was high, and now I'm treating myself that way. It's not even a way of performance. It's not me saying like, look how single I am and look how cool and better I am because I'm single. It's truly just like a neutral feeling on dating of like, I don't want it and I don't need it and I'm not interested in it. And it's the first time since I've been dating that I felt that way. Like, I haven't touched a dating app, and it's been like a good few months since I went on my last date, and yeah, I'm very happy about it too, because I get to go on dates with my friends, which, you know, I've been on some really good ones recently, because I've had the absolute privilege of going to like so many events through my management, which have been so much fun and truly such an honor. One of them I have written down here was I got to go to a gallery opening at the Hayward Gallery with my friend Hanifa. Absolutely gorgeous exhibition. I couldn't believe it. We were just walking through, and I say it's an honor because it truly is, you know, like, I really dreamt of doing the stuff that I'm doing now when I was younger, and to be invited to these things and to be able to like bring my friends along is so exciting and so much fun. And got to go to the gallery, had a couple of glasses of wine, had a little giggle with my friend, and it's just really special. And I've never felt more like Carrie Bradshaw, because if you've watched Sex and the City, she just goes to these like random events and gets to bring her friends along. And that's me. You know, I'm going to these rogue events, which I will be getting onto a couple of these events later on in this episode. And rounding up this catch up, I had pancakes with Emma on Pancake Day. Very exciting. My favorite topping on the pancakes was butter and maple syrup. So yummy. Salted butter on top of a pancake, all you need, truly. I am normally like a lemon and sugar girl, classic. I feel like that's more like a thin crepe style pancake for me personally. But for a thick American pancake, I was like, you know what? Let's indulge in the culture. And then finally, on this catch up, is the photo shoot for the new season and my birthday. So I actually did the photo shoot for this season on my birthday, which was really exciting because I don't normally celebrate my birthday all that much. I'm not, you know, not necessarily the biggest fan of my birthday. I don't like that kind of attention, to be honest. I find it I don't know. It's not, I don't like that. It was actually really, really lovely as well. It just reminded me that the birthday beforehand, and since I was 19, I've been doing London Fashion Week. And I've found it really, really hard to enjoy my birthday when doing Fashion Week, because it is all consuming and it engulfs you when you're, for a week, just like even 2 weeks, just running around London endlessly, made to feel shit about yourself and working for no money and doing it all and being told that you should be grateful because like you're living someone else's dream or you're living your like younger self's dream, and it's your birthday and you're being told certain things at a casting by a casting director, and it's just not nice. So it was a really full circle moment for me to be on a set that I had rented with my two best friends shooting for work that I have done. This is my podcast and I've done really all of this myself. I promote this podcast, I market it, I edit it, I produce it, I script it. It's mine. And I'm so proud of this podcast. And I really think that that was like a full circle moment for me, because I was just able to be there and actually be happy. And I got the train home that day, had a massive sweet potato with tofu and like vegetables, etc. And I just was so proud of myself. I was so proud of myself. I was sitting on my bed, and I remember just like looking through some of the photos that I had taken on a little digicam, and I just remember like being so emotional because I was looking at this woman that I always wanted to be when I was younger. I was looking at her, and she's like created this life for herself, and I really have, and I'm so proud of myself. And I had my extensions in for the podcast, and I'd done my makeup like pretty, and I was just sitting at home in my like comfy clothes with my extensions in and like my pretty makeup, stuffing my face with a sweet potato, watching a podcast. And then I came downstairs and I was with my brothers and my parents, and I had this massive gluten-free vegan triple layered chocolate cake, and I just bloody demolished it. It was so nice, and we just had it with tea, and it was just really lovely, and it was like the perfect day. And yeah, I was just very, very proud of myself that day because, I don't know, it was just very full circle, and it made me very proud of this podcast. And again, I do want to really harp on the fact that I'm really proud of this podcast, and I'm so honored to be back for the 6th season. For a lot of you, you may be tuned in just to last season, and this maybe feels like season 2 for you. But I've been working on this podcast for a very long time. I started it in a spare bedroom in my family farmhouse. I didn't have video episodes. I didn't know what I was doing. I remember I used to only record in the dark because I couldn't record in the light because I just found it too stressful. I used to record episodes for like 2-3 hours because I just kept saying and like, and I didn't know what I was even saying. But I knew that there was something to it, and I knew that I should just keep pushing through, and I did. And now doing the podcast, I've been away for 6 months, and I've just like slipped straight back into it. And I want this to be a testament to all of you that if you really believe in something, I really want you to keep doing it, because I wasn't seeing necessarily like huge signs of growth with the podcast in the first like 3 seasons or even 4 seasons. But if you believe in something enough, other people will believe in it too. And I've been so lucky to cultivate an audience that understand it and understand me, and you get the vision. A lot of podcasts don't take a 6-month break. A lot of podcasts don't change their aesthetic every season, and a lot of people would think that's weird or it's not good marketing, but you have always understood it. You've always got it. My old podcast management, when I did season 5 and I made it all black and white, they were like, this is not a good idea. But I was like, I'm an artist, I know what I'm doing, and you guys understood it. You guys got it, and I really appreciate that. I just am very, very proud of this podcast, and I'm very proud to have you as my audience that listen to this podcast, and I don't ever want that to go unnoticed. So thank you very, very much. Thank Thank you once again to Eugenia Milian for sponsoring the premiere episode of Self-Interrupted with Kit Costello. I'm going to read the blurb of Wild Childs to you guys, and you're going to listen. The loss of innocence, the death of beauty, and the price of success. 17 years ago, Iris was forced to abandon Gus, the love of her life, and her career as a top model in Paris. She has created a new life for herself and her daughter, Lou, in California. However, when the news of Gus's unexpected death reaches Iris, her tenuously reconstructed life is thrown into chaos. A celebrated art and fashion photographer, Gus, has left his estate to Lou with one condition. Iris must travel to Paris and recover a missing collection of his work. Iris soon discovers that she's not the only one after the photographs. An old enemy is staking claim to them, and a notorious tabloid is threatening Iris with brutal and very private images of her past life. To protect her daughter from scandal, Iris needs to confront the demons that cause her to flee Paris, her career, and her life with Gus. Iris embarks on a suspenseful journey through the closed world of the fashion industry, where the beautiful people do ugly things. Will she expose the industry's dark and shameful secrets? Can she shield her family from the consequences? Wild Child is a work of fiction based on the truth. I hope that that's convinced you to give Wild Child a read. Once again, I do want to mention that Wild Child is a book that contains adult themes and subjects that some may find sensitive. Thank you so much, Eugenia, for sponsoring this episode and this season once again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. I mentioned previously that I have a couple of stories from a couple of the events that I've been to recently that I thought were quite funny. So to round this episode up, just before we get into the Interrupt Me and the recommendation of the week, I thought we'd end this little catch up of the week on a couple of funny stories. So I want to start off with an event that I went to for Galentine's. Galentine's, hey guys, happy Valentine's, happy Galentine's. I need to let you all know now that I have actually, since these stories, I've stopped drinking alcohol. I've stopped drinking coffee, and I like to think that one day I just woke up and I was like, hey, no more coffee or alcohol for me. The truth is, it's probably from these stories, okay? So it's Galentine's Day. I'm invited to this event, and it's a very intimate event. We're going to a bookshop. There's going to be 12 of us, and we're going to be making bookmarks for Galentine's Day. Really exciting. Gorgeous brand owner who is also on my management. It's me and a bunch of other really cool creatives who I look up to, sitting around a candlelit dinner the day before Valentine's Day. But let's not cut to the chase. I was meeting my friend before this event for pints just down the street from said Galentine's Day event. So there I am. I'm at the pub. I'm sitting down. My friend is still not arriving. I said, Diva, get here at 6:30. It's 6:45 and he's still not here. Eventually he arrives. By the way, the event starts at 7. And my friend says, oh, I have so much to catch you up on. I said, oh yeah, 15 minutes. And he said, no, you can be a little bit late. And I said, okay, fashionably late. Maybe 10 to 15 minutes. My friend and I are catching up, and like I said, at this time I'm drinking, so I have a pint of Guinness, and I finished the pint, and I bought my friend and I the first pint, and he says, I'm going to get you another pint. And I said, another pint? Are you crazy? I need to go to an event. He's like, you'll be fine. You've had more than one pint before, and you've been fine. And I said, you know what? You're right. So he gets the other pint, and I think nothing of it, and I'm now 2 pints deep. Like I said, I had to rush drinking these pints because I had to rush next door to the event. So I've now basically downed 2 pints while talking to my friend. And I start thinking like, oh, I feel a little bit tipsy, but I think I'll be okay. I stand up. You guys, when I tell you, instant regret washed over me. I am drunk. Like, I look at my friend, I'm seeing double. I start, and I know what you're thinking, kid, 2 pints is making you feel this way. Yes, girl. I'm now drunk. I'm grabbing my friend. I'm saying, oh my God, do you understand? I'm going to a really cool event with really cool people, and I'm pissed off my head on Guinness. Are you crazy? He's like, Kit, you'll be fine. Listen, you have to walk to the event. When you walk outside, the cold breeze will hit you. It will sober you up, and you can go on a long, brisk walk to where the event is being held, and you'll feel fine. Kit, you'll sober up, and it'll be grand. You'll be amazing. I say goodbye to my friend with a kiss on the cheek. He departs. I start walking. I look to my left and I think, oh, what a gorgeous little, I've walked a couple of steps. I'm still completely plastered. I look to my left. I say, gorgeous, what a gorgeous little bookshop. Candle lit. Oh, everyone in there seems to be having such a good time. That's the event, bitch. Not much of a walk to sober up to. I look in. Everyone's waving, hey, you're late. Come in. Nightmare. Absolute nightmare. All of these people that I think are incredibly cool, still to this day, if any of you are listening, I'm so honored that I got to meet you. But I can only apologize for being completely... I wouldn't say I wasn't... Okay, guys, I want to get it straight. Every person that I said I was drunk to, all of them said, oh, we couldn't tell. I felt the drunkest I've ever felt. Like, I walked into that door, instantly it was like everyone looked at me because I was late. Not a good idea to arrive to an intimate gathering late drunk. So I walk in, I say, hey, you know that meme where it's like, hey, how y'all doing? Me walking into this bookshop. As I walk in, the host of the event says, okay, guys, I think it's about time we sit down and we make these necklaces and these bookmarks. I'm thinking, my God, what have I got myself into? I'm so excited to do this if I was sober. I sit down. The drinks available are cocktails. So I'm drunk on Guinness and I start drinking a cocktail in a can. So I'm now mixing my alcohols while already drunk. And people next to me are trying to have conversations. And it's the kind of conversation where it's like small talk mixed with these really cool people that I really do actually want to get to know. So I'm like honing in on conversation while being drunk, while trying to make a bookmark, which is like so like finicky and fiddly because I have these beads and all of and I'm trying my best. And also it's the day before Valentine's Day. So I'm remembering people that maybe I shouldn't be remembering, and I'm drunk. So I'm sitting at this Galentine's Day event, drunk, trying to talk to the person next to me and opposite me while making a bookmark, while drafting a text to the person that I had been with a few months prior. Hey! Have you missed this? Be honest. Like, have you missed this? And to be honest, I did it all. I sent a text to someone that I used to date. I held a conversation. I made a bookmark. And I did it all while completely drunk. And the worst part of it was, it got to 9 p.m. The event was wrapping up. Everyone, was a little bit tiddly. At this point, they caught up to me. And my train was cancelled. And I was like, for goodness sake, like, I'm going to have to get an Uber home. And this girl said, oh no, Kit, don't worry. Like, you can get the bus from here to there and then you can catch a train. And I said, oh girl, like, I don't know about the bus. I'm a bit drunk. And she said, no, I'll come with you. And I said, you don't. In my head, I said, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. One-on-one conversation with me when I'm drunk. No one wants that. I get so awkward when I'm drunk with space in conversation. Like, when there's a lull in conversation, I have to fill it. When I'm sober, I find it very awkward, but I don't have to fill it. When I'm drunk, I repeat myself. I'm asking you the same question. I was on this bus with this poor woman. I'm so sorry if you're listening to this. I really can only apologize. I'm so embarrassed. I was sitting there talking to her and I was literally like, so what's your name again? Worst part, I'd asked her twice already while we'd been on the bus what her name was. What do you do for work? Oh yeah, I already said I do this, that, and the third. I said, oh God. I was so aware of the questions I'd already asked that I was going into the question being like, I know I already know this and I know I've already asked, but what is your name? It was so bad. I was just so happy to leave for her sake. Like, I just felt so bad. And that was my Galentine's. Got drunk, made a bookmark, texted an ex, got on a bus home drunk, asked too many questions. And I didn't really regret any of it in the morning, to be honest. I looked at the text and I was like, that's a great text. Other than that, I think it's time to wrap this episode up and get into the Interrupt Me of the week and the recommendation of the week. Welcome to the new segment of the podcast entitled Interrupt Me, an Agni Aunt weekly section of the podcast where I give you advice on the things that you guys are going through. And the interruption of the week reads, hi, I would love advice on regarding girl best friends. I recently went through a breakup and I think one factor why was because how often I brought up about him having his girl best friend he was very close with. I think it's my non-negotiable, but I know it's wrong. Do you have any advice on how I'll improve myself and be more secure about it? It's something I'm really struggling with. I can't stand a boyfriend who's got girl friends. I believe that a lot of this has to do with personal security and how you feel within yourself. I think a lot of the time, if we're threatened by someone, we see something in them that maybe we desire or that we want. So I'd kind of start there. Like these girls that he was friends with, what did they have that maybe you look at and you think, oh, I could have that? Or it may not have anything to do with you, and it may have something to do with the person that you were with. Maybe they aren't actually trustworthy and you don't trust them. I think sometimes you can kind of be set up to believe that a lot of the situations in life as to why you're insecure is because of you in a relationship, but sometimes it is because you just are not secure with your partner. And maybe they've given you reasons and signals in the past to make you feel insecure. So maybe you should give yourself some credit in that sense, if that is the case. But if that's not the case and he's given you no reason as to, being insecure, I really would say you have got to work on yourself. I think there's so much beauty in falling in love with yourself and understanding that even if you lose that person, that boyfriend, say if he did go off with that girl, that you would be okay. I think a lot of the time we find insecurity when we find insecurity, in relationships when we're insecure within ourselves. We project it, If you're not feeling loved by your partner, is it because of you or is it because something that they're going through? I think if you're feeling insecure, you automatically pin it onto yourself. What could I do better? Why am I not enough? And I think if, your partner has friends that are girls, if you're in an insecure mindset, you're going to be thinking, well, he's obviously going to leave me because I'm not good enough for this reason and that reason. But personally for me, in the past, I've dated guys that have pretty close friends that are girls. And I don't necessarily find it threatening, to be honest. I think, again, it was more so when I was younger and I was in relationships that just weren't really specified, and maybe we weren't dating, but we were almost dating, and they had friends that were girls. And I think it really depends on the person, because I remember the person that I'm thinking of in my head now when I was like 16, 17, he used to always just kind of like hold those girls over me, and he'd be like, I can always go to this person, I can always go to that person. So again, it wasn't necessarily to do with my insecurity, it was to do with the fact that he was making me insecure. I think the people that I've dated since, it wouldn't threaten me that they had a girlfriend. I think especially now, I think I'm just kind of like, well, if you cheat on me, that's it. Like for me, it's just, I don't know if that's like the best advice, but there's no alternative. Like if someone was to cheat on me, it's just like completely, you're written out of my life. And I don't care about the situation, and I don't think that there's any circumstance that cheating's okay. So there's no excuse for it, which means if you have a girl best friend, it's absolutely fine. But just know, if anything happens between you two, it's not happening between us. And you can have your thing with that person, but I'm not going to sit throughout my relationship with you and think, oh my God, is he going to get with her? Because if he does, he does. Like, that's what it is. That's what it's going to be. You can't sit back and just ponder and worry. If someone's going to leave you, they will leave you. I know it sucks to hear, but if you're feeling anxious and agitated about that, then maybe you're not with the right person, and maybe you don't feel secure with them. And if you don't feel secure with them, that's a conversation you have with them, because maybe that insecurity, like I said, is coming from within, or maybe it's coming from them. And that's a conversation that you can have with that person. But yeah, that's the advice that I would give for you. The recommendation of the week that I would give this week is a song called Big Sky by an artist called August James. I absolutely love this song. I think it's so gorgeous, and it inspired a couple of episodes for this upcoming season about falling in love and first time falling in love, that I think is really beautiful. So August James, Big Sky is the recommendation of the week. Thank you so much for listening to the premiere episode of Self Interrupted Season 6. I'm so honoured that you're here. I really hope that you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please make sure to rate it 5 stars. You can leave a comment on the podcast, you can leave a review on the podcast, you can follow the podcast on Instagram and on TikTok at selfinterruptedpod. You can follow me personally on Instagram and on TikTok at kit.costello. But other than that, I'm sending you so much love. As always, Kit. Thank you once again to Eugenia Milian for sponsoring this season of Self Interrupted. It's really appreciated. I really look up to Eugenia Milian. She really is like a mentor to me in a lot of ways, and I've been really inspired by her work and her life, and I think it's just really inspirational for people to create work off of things that in their life have been challenging and have been fronting for them. And in a lot of ways, I believe that it's such an organic collaboration, because Self Interrupted for me in a lot of ways is doing that same thing, is spinning straw into gold and letting people know about the things that I've gone through in my life that I've found challenging and I've found difficult, and packaging it in a way that can be digestible to you. And I really believe that Wild Childs is that. So if you're someone that works in the fashion industry, or if you want to get into the fashion industry, or you're a model, or you want to become a model, I really believe that Wild Childs is an interesting and poignant book for you to be reading. So thank you once again to Eugenia Milian for sponsoring this season of Self Interrupted. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed the premiere episode of this season. I'm sending you so much love.